Hi, my name is Carly Lear. For the lesson on social development, I will be teaching Charity. Charity is 10 years old, which according to Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages, puts her in the stage of industry versus inferiority. This stage is a lot about learning to do things for others and feeling accomplished. In this phase, it's important for her to feel like she's doing something successfully. A lot of my ideas also overlap with the stage prior to this one, and that's the stage of initiative versus guilt. That social stage is mainly on doing things independently, and as we learned in class, there isn't a definite move from one stage to another. It's more of a transition. So those are the two stages my ideas stem from. So I'll go ahead and start reading or give you my 10 original ideas. First was being in charge of a family home evening lesson and activity. Number 2 was inventing and then playing a game teaching a game to play with Alea. Number 3 was planning a meal for the family. Number 4, learning to cook a meal for herself. Number 5, bacteria and what they are. 6, the skin and how it protects our bodies. Number 7, the immune system. And number 8, learning to eat healthy. Number 9, how to communicate with body language. And number 10, gardening, weeding, planting, and watering, things like that. So for Charity's lesson, I decided to combine a few of my ideas. The ideas I put together and combined are the ones on bacteria, and the skin, kind of the immune system and that, and then also the lesson on gardening. And these ideas right off the bat might not seem very social, but they definitely are. She's getting close to going through puberty, and her body's going to go through a lot of changes. One major one is that she will sweat more, and this can cause zits and make us stink. And according to her social stage, she's really getting to a point where her peers and her best friends are very important to her, and fitting in and interacting with others is a big deal to her. And being clean and well groomed and understanding why we need to be clean. And also learning about sicknesses, getting sick and preventing from getting sick, keeping yourself from spreading germs and things like that is a very important social aspect that she will be introduced to very frequently. So in my lesson plan, I would start with gardening as the introduction. I think by having her get her hands very visibly dirty, it would be a good starting activity, but also a subtle lesson on responsibility. Weeding and watering, for example, to keep the plant alive. But I feel that it's something that is just inside her zone of proximal development, so it's a very low state anxiety activity that will create some situational interest and also hot cognition, as it will give her a visual more of the germs that surround us every day and that we come in contact with. I plan on doing Charity's pre-assessment while we are gardening by asking her why she thinks it's important to be clean. I will be able to see any personal theories or misconceptions she may have, and I also like gardening because it's a good activity that I think follows brain rule number 1 very well, and that is exercise improves brain activity. She won't be doing what we typically think of as exercises, but she'll be bending up and down and digging in the dirt. And then also I like gardening because according to the book Boys Adrift, she'll be doing Kentness learning, which is learning by experience rather than Wissenschaft learning, which if I was just to lecture her about bacteria, she wouldn't apply that as much. She'll be using more areas of her brain during Kentness learning. She'll use her parietal lobe as she uses her sensory register, take in all the senses she's feeling, the smells of the dirt, things like that. She'll use her occipital lobe as she looks around and has more things to keep her interested. And then of course her frontal lobe as she processes the information and her brain moves the information she's taking in from her working memory into a schema in her long-term memory that hopefully she'll be able to use many times later. When we're done in the garden, I'll have her look at her hands and begin to explain to her what germs are and how, even though we can't see them, they're still there, just like the dirt on her hands. I believe as I begin the lesson, I'll be creating some disequilibrium. As we move on to what bacteria are just a little bit more in depth than what she's been taught in the past, it could create disequilibrium there, but I'll scaffold her a little by providing some positive instances of the results of what bacteria can cause. Though we can't see the bacteria without a microscope, we can see the effects of bacteria. One of these visible effects of bacteria will be how zits form. Like we said earlier, she's going into puberty. That's something she's definitely going to encounter. She has older sisters, and I'm sure she's seen them pop zits before. We'll kind of talk a little bit about that. We'll also go into talking about sweat and how I'll ask her about what she knows about why we get sick. Some kind of things there. And then by asking her, rather than telling her each one, I'll take away any learned helplessness and also discover, like I said, more misconceptions. Also some overgeneralizations or undergeneralizations she has about getting sick. A large part of the social stage Charity is dealing with, like I said, is forming stronger relationships with her peers and moving closer to them and becoming better friends with them. She'll be wanting to fit in with, and I believe that that desire to fit in will be a form of extrinsic motivation for her. But I believe that she will also see how being healthy, keeping herself clean and everything, how that keeps her healthy, and that will serve as some intrinsic motivation for her as well. Where she has both forms of motivation going on, I think that this lesson will be one that can be effectively stored into her long-term memory, and she'll be able to enjoy learning at the same time. So that is my lesson on social development for Charity, and I appreciate you watching.